Hi, welcome to this video on Microsoft SQL covering the CHARINDEX function and using functions in the where clause. On screen I've got a select that's returning 5 columns. The first 2 columns are standard columns from a table, columns FT name and FT date, and the next 3 columns are the result of functions, the len function, the left function and the year function. We've talked about these functions in a previous video. I've also given each column an alias. So now what I'm going to show you is a new function called CHARINDEX, and what CHARINDEX is used for is it searches for a piece of text within another piece of text, and it returns the starting point of that piece of text, the starting position. So if I show you as an example, if I do CHARINDEX and put a bracket in, it says, okay, the first thing I need to know is what you're searching for. So let's imagine I want to search for the word end. And then when I put a comma, it says, okay, where do you want to search? Which column are you searching? So I want to search this column. So I've got to put the column name in. I've got an alias there of name, but actually the column is called FT name, so I'll put that in. The final parameter here, the final option is start location. And I know it's an optional parameter just because I've used this before. What start location means is if I were to put a number in here, so if I put the number 5 in here, it will search for end in this column, but it will start at the 5th character. So it'll ignore the first 4 and start at the 5th, and then from there search the word end. And the result of this CHARINDEX function is a number, and it's the starting position of the text that I'm looking for. And if it isn't there, it'll return 0 because it doesn't find it. So if I run this, I'll give it an alias. If I run this, you can see in the first 4 it's 0 because end doesn't exist in there, but actually end is in here. And if we counted, end begins at the 15th character. And if we go down a little bit, we've got a 10 there. End is there, it starts at the 10th character. And if we go down a bit more, there's another example here. Also, maybe we'll, if I just copy that and we'll call this first space, and we run this, it will show us the position of the first space. And if there isn't a space, it'll be a 0. And if there is a space, it says where it is. It returns the first example. So if in here there are 3 spaces, it returns the position of the first space. Now, when you are putting these functions in here and you're getting your results, it is possible to use these functions in the where clause, as long as it's not an aggregate function, and we've talked about them in another video, where you've got to do things ever so slightly differently. If it's a standard function that just returns results based on the value in a particular column rather than some sort of summary, you can use them here. So what I can say here is I know that I've got this function here that is the length, and I know it returns a number. So I can use that and I can say, all right, get me all of this data from this table where, and I can now put my function in here, and I can say, because I know it's a number, I can say where the length of that column is greater than 10. And I'll run that. And now the ones that were 6 characters at the bottom, the absorb is now disappeared. Or maybe I'll change it to be 20. And now it's only showing the entries where the length of this column is 20 characters or more. Rather, it's over 20 characters. We can do the same thing with year. So the year column here uses the year function. So if I say where year, my column name, and say 2019, then it will return only those records that have the year 2019 in the date column. And I can do the same thing here. So I can say I only want to see things that where there is a space, or maybe where there isn't a space. So I can use the CHARINDEX to say equals 0, and it will only return the result of this function equaling 0. So it's important in these cases to understand the data that's being returned, because if you use the left function, you try to say return the left 5 characters. In my clause here, I'll say where the left 5 characters of this field, and I can say equals anger, and that'll return that. That's fine. But what I can't do is I can't say a greater than 5, because the result of this function is text. It's not a number, so I can't do some sort of mathematical formula against it. So it's got to be logical. That's the end of this video. I hope you find it helpful.